Hello, welcome to Writing an Argumentative Essay. I am Katie Borcoman, and this is intended to supplement the learning object entitled Extended Argument Analysis. This presentation is based in part on materials found in Moore and Parker's textbook, Critical Thinking, Edition 9. What is an argument? There are many ways of expressing the concept of argument, of course. One easy way is that an argument is a set of statements that lead to a conclusion, or a set of statements or propositions set up so as to lead logically to a conclusion. What we are really concerned about with an argument is the relationship between what we call premises, reasons, and evidence, and that which is said to follow from those reasons, premises, and evidence, normally called the conclusion. We utilize this concept of argument when we plan to write an argumentative essay in which there is offered support for a position on an issue. Our purpose is to produce essays that persuade people, not by tricking them, but through presenting claims to support conclusions. Clearly, there are cases in which persons attempt to persuade an audience or reader of something that they believe, yet they don't necessarily do the best logical job, even if it turns out that many people are in fact persuaded. In critical thinking and logic, there is a saying that goes like this: logic is what should persuade, but rhetoric is what often does persuade. Technically speaking, for the sake of our presentation here, we treat logic and rhetoric as quite different concepts. This is not to say that rhetoric is somehow a completely undesirable aspect of an essay, but simply that if an argument is too rhetorical, meaning that we might easily get off the subject by engaging in the use of informal fallacies or emotional language, then we are not in fact producing the best argumentative essay that we might otherwise be able to, at least not from a logical point of view. A good argumentative essay is well organized and clear. It is both easier to understand and also more logically persuasive. But let's focus now for a moment on the notion that argumentative writing is organized. Clarity of structure is most often threatened by eccentric organization of the material, and lack of clarity is best prevented through reliable writing practices. The writer of an organized essay will focus on the issue, stick to that issue, and arrange the parts of the essay logically, and he will also attempt to be complete in the process. So the idea, of course, is that you should have in mind, when you sit down to prepare your essay, that you have the important relevant points and premises. Probably, it is best to generate an outline, and that's something with which you're likely to be familiar already. In writing an organized essay, you'll begin with a clear statement of the issue to be addressed and the specific position that will be taken on that issue. This is just to say that you'll know what side you are on and what assertion you're going to make. And that will be a single claim expressing your viewpoint. It is this main claim that will be the conclusion of your argument. Every claim made in an organized essay bears on the issue in question, while the parts of the essay will follow a logical sequence. Typically, the position being defended comes first, usually in the first paragraph, with the supporting reasons following along with additional material as the need for it arises. Now, this is true with respect to argumentative essays, but remember that the situation here is one in which we are trying to depict what an argumentative essay looks like. Bear in mind that there are many other types of essay that your professors may ask you to write, and these are likely to require somewhat different guidelines. A good argumentative essay also is as complete as space permits. Every argument referred to gets developed, and every disputable claim comes with some defense. This needs to be unpacked to some extent. That is the idea that every argument referred to gets developed. You may have an essay in which there is a single position that you have taken. That's normally the way the argumentative essay goes. In this case, whales have rights. This is a single main claim or assertion. You will also need, oftentimes, to provide sub-arguments offered to support the main premises of your overall essay, as is indicated in this example. Remember that since you're in fact arguing a position, it probably means that not everybody automatically treats as a fact your main claim. Otherwise, you could not be writing the argumentative essay. So it's important to be aware of how you can defend any disputable claims with further reasons offered in support of them. Good writing practices make it easy to stick to these guidelines. After completing a draft of your essay, outline it, then take a look at your outline and evaluate it for coherence and focus. You want to make sure that everything in the argument stays right on task. It's also very important to revise your essay repeatedly, as often as you need to, and a great idea to get comments on an essay from someone else with a different point of view. In fact, it's better to get it from someone who is highly critical. Many of us have a difficult time on occasion reacting to somebody's critique of our performance, particularly when it comes to writing. But it is probably a very good idea if you want to get that good grade and do the best job you can. Another great tactic is to read an essay out loud so that you can catch problems with grammar and punctuation. When you do that, you'll find that punctuation seems naturally to flow. After you finish, at least stop temporarily, put your work aside for a while, and come at it again with more revisions. It is really important to give yourself plenty of time to do your essay. Professors typically discover that many students writing essays for courses wait until the very last minute and don't avail themselves of these guidelines nor take sufficient time to increase the likelihood of success. And now I'd like to offer you some quick tips as to how to write your essay. In the introductory paragraphs, state in writing the purpose, that is to say what you want to justify or prove. Here it's often a good idea to tell why this might be important to an audience, a listener, or a reader. State the main conclusion or claim that you're going to be asserting, and indicate what the premises are right up front of the argument that you're about ready to offer. In the first main premise, usually what's required is at least a paragraph or two to provide details about the subject, any supporting information, examples, and illustrations, as well as a possible sub-argument in order to defend this premise. Same pattern for the second main premise and the third main premise as well. Provide details about the topic, provide any supporting information and examples, and if necessary, provide another sub-argument. With the third main premise, you probably need yet another paragraph or so. Again, the same pattern that is involved in premise 1 and premise 2. Provide details, supporting information, and if necessary, provide an argument for this particular premise. Often in order to support the idea that your audience should be interested in what you're arguing about, it's important to give an example or real-life anecdote and possibly a first-hand observation. Consider a counter-argument to your position as well. Provide an extremely good argument against your own position, and then show why it is not really good enough to refute the position that you have advanced. Now to the conclusion. In a conclusion, you recap how you've arrived at your conclusion, and oftentimes you restate what you stated in the very first paragraph. And then you summarize key points that you would like everybody, reader or listener, to remember. And now it's time to take the self-test on this particular module. Thank you for joining me.